The member for North Sydney.
Mr Speaker, I rise in support of the position offered by the member for Wentworth today. And as he was speaking, I was reminded of a speech given by Mr Gary Banks, the chairman of the Productivity Commission, at a seminar I attended at the Melbourne Institute and run by The Australian. It was the Economic and Social Outlook Conference, the Road to Recovery, of the 5th of November 2009. And it is a hugely instructive speech, this, from the chairman of the Productivity Commission, because at that time, in the wake of the financial crisis, there was a vigorous debate, albeit not as well reported as perhaps it should have been. There was a vigorous debate about the importance of gaining the very best outcome from dollars spent by the government. Now, I can quote from Mr Banks' speech. He says, "Poorly conceived or executed infrastructure investments can impose a double burden on the community, with future generations having to service higher debts from incomes that are lower than they otherwise would be." He went on to say, "Indeed, it could be argued that any stimulatory spending on economic or social infrastructure that did not yield a net benefit would be inferior on efficiency, that is, national productivity grounds, and to giving the money to households for discretionary spending. At least such payments are likely to end up being directed to valued goods and services at prices that properly reflect costs." Now, what the chairman of the Productivity Commission was saying in 2009 is it may well be the case for every dollar that is allocated by government to go back to individuals for the proper expenditure of that money in a productivity-enhancing manner, than to have the government proceed with infrastructure projects that are not as productive as they would be if they had a proper cost-benefit analysis. The speech is instructive on financial services. I refer to others to it, which is along the lines I've saying. But the interesting thing is, he says, "A second potential source of productivity gain, now that some of the pressure is off, are those larger-scale nation-building infrastructure proposals that were brought forward and selected without the opportunity to conduct adequate cost-benefit analysis. It would be desirable to delay the progression of such projects until this can be remedied." There is no more significant project that initially started as a $5 billion broadband to the nation. It started as $5 billion. Now it's revealed it will be 10 times that amount. And the chairman of the Productivity Commission back in 2009, backing the sentiment expressed by the chairman of the Reserve Bank, by the Secretary of the Treasury, by every half-credible economist across the world, is that you should be having a cost-benefit analysis of infrastructure projects that are no longer about economic stimulation but are simply about spending taxpayers' money. He went on to say there are two urban myths about cost-benefit analysis that appear to be carrying currency. One is that they need to be kept confidential because of commercially sensitive material. This conflates a CBA, cost-benefit analysis, with a competitive bidding process. And he goes on to describe how you can have a cost-benefit analysis up front without in any way compromising the delivery of the infrastructure. He says the second myth is that cost-benefit analyses cannot be conducted where there are non-financial costs or benefits like environmental impacts. Such impacts will be implicitly valued anyway. CBA, cost-benefit analysis, merely requires that those valuation judgments be transparently tested. Now, I can understand the concerns of the independents, I can understand the concerns of all Australians, that we all do want to have a faster broadband in Australia. We all want that. But the fundamental point is, $50 billion later, was this the very best way that we could have spent the money? Or even better, Mr Speaker, the question is, after $50 billion, could Australians have had $10 billion or $20 billion left with a more appropriate spend of the money that could have delivered 15 or 20 brand new teaching hospitals, 10 or 15 or 20 brand new teaching hospitals with the money left over, and you still end up with a broadband that delivers what Australians want.
The member for North Sydney will resume his seat. The Leader of the House.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. There are some very specific amendments before the House. This is just now a filibuster.
The member, the Leader of the House resume his seat. The member for North Sydney should make his remarks relevant to the Senate amendments. The member for North Sydney's time has expired. The question is that the Senate amendments be agreed to.
I seek leave to table Gary Banks's speech
Is
from
leave granted?
2009.
Leave is not granted.